It would have been much easier if we had one passport, federal passport, we could utilize for traveling, utilize for going into, be it restaurants or other areas. That never happened. We've stepped up, and we're going to make this happen and move forward.
Do you support Ontario's new vaccine passport system, soon coming to a movie theater, restaurant, gym, or other location near you? Ontario Premier Doug Ford, he swore he wouldn't introduce one, that it would create a split society.
And there's no secret that, I wasn't in favor of this.
And then he caved and he introduced it after all. Now, I know that there's polling data that we're told suggests the majority of people actually support bringing in such a system. But I would argue that people mean different things when they think about a vaccine passport. And we actually haven't done a good job of actually breaking down, what is this thing? What's it going to be like? What are the implications? It is such a monumental change on our daily lives, and yet it's barely been discussed or debated at all. There are things of much smaller consequence that we actually debate for many, many months. They go through committee hearings, there are reports issued on them. There's a lot of discussion and debate and disagreement on much smaller issues, and yet this one, it seems like it just has passed by so quickly with a bunch of manic energy behind it and not enough hashing out of the details. For instance, I believe that one of the reasons that the majority of people say they're okay with a vaccine passport is the majority of people in Ontario actually have 2 doses of the vaccine. So they consider themselves fully vaccinated. So therefore, this is a system that just gives them 2 thumbs up and says, go ahead, welcome, come on in. But is that really the case? There are other countries such as Israel that are saying, well, your vaccine passport, 2 doses, is not fully vaccinated. There's a booster shot, a 3rd shot that may in fact invalidate your passport until you get that shot. So how many actual shots does one need to get the green light in this vaccine passport in Ontario? That question remains unanswered because we are already discussing booster shots here and who they're available to, and presumably that catchment will widen. Also, how long is this going to be in place? Now, Ontario Premier Doug Ford did say, look, this is not going to be in any day longer than it needs to be, and we will remove it.
This is a temporary tool that we won't use for a day longer than we have to.
I wrote to the Ontario government and I said, hey guys, can you please tell me where actually the fine print says that this is set to expire? I mean, presumably they will feel like they can renew it if they need to, but at least they would put an initial expiry date, would they not, if they consider this a temporary measure? But there's actually no date on any of the supporting documentation. There's no expiry date set for this. So I know some people say if this is what we have to do for a few months or what have you, so be it, let's do it. But hold on a second, there's no indication that this is only going to be in place for a few months. Maybe it will be. I think that would be great to see this expire as soon as possible, but we just don't know that. It is not guaranteed. Another thing that is not guaranteed at all, and yet I think is one of the main reasons we saw some business leaders, chambers of commerce and so forth say they supported a vaccine passport, is they said this is what must be done to avoid another crushing lockdown. That businesses, facilities, regular folks, they cannot endure another lockdown. And we must bring in the vaccine passport because once you do that, it guarantees there will not be another lockdown.
These certificates are necessary to keep our hospitals safe and to avoid another lockdown.
I'm sorry, but did we get a promise from the Ontario government? Did we get a written sort of contract signed with them? Okay, we'll do this passport thing if you guarantee no lockdowns. No, in fact, just the opposite. Hours after Doug Ford went up to the podium and announced the vaccine passport would be introduced, hours after, the Ontario Science Table, which the Ontario government often does what they say, they released a report threatening the prospects of a potential fall lockdown without any acknowledgement that, wait, hold on a second, we just brought in this vaccine passport, but you're saying a fall lockdown is still a possibility, it's still something that is on the table? Yes, it is. There are a whole lot of other questions to be asked as well in terms of what will the implementation of this be like.
Enforcement will be led by law officers, will be reasonable, and will rely on individuals and businesses to do the right thing.
Is this actually going to be something that small businesses follow through on? Now, there are many stores, grocery stores, and small retailers that right now are not included in the vaccine passport system. But even those that are right now, are they actually all going to be following it to a T? Are people who currently say they do not feel safe to go out and about in society, is the vaccine passport going to instantly mollify them? I'm not so sure about that. And I'm also not sure what's going to be different. I mean, I have been to gyms, restaurants, and the movie theater since they've been reopened here in Ontario, and there were people there. We had a good time. Everything was fine. What difference really does the vaccine passport make when the majority of people in the province, the vast majority, are already vaccinated? What are the arguments actually in support of it, particularly when we have more and more studies saying, look, vaccinated persons can, of course, still contract COVID-19, they can still transmit it and so forth. What is the actual efficacy, the value-added component of bringing in such a measure to society as a vaccine passport? So many questions remain, and yet a lot of people have jumped in quite gladly into this process, and I do wonder, are they going to soon have buyer's remorse?